how to never get angry or bothered by someone. Before we begin, take a moment, breathe in deep, and ask yourself, why do I keep letting people steal my peace? Why does one comment, one look, one moment of disrespect control your entire day? If you're tired of feeling emotionally hijacked, tired of reacting instead of responding, then what you're about to hear is not just a speech, it's a shift. A shift in how you see yourself, how you protect your energy, and how you reclaim your power. This isn't about pretending to be unbothered. It's about becoming someone who truly is, someone who no longer bends under the weight of other people's chaos. So if you've ever been hurt, provoked, dismissed, or misunderstood, stay with me, because what you're about to learn will help you walk through fire and never smell like smoke. Let's begin. Your peace is your power. That's not just a feel-good phrase. It's a truth that can shift the entire direction of your life if you take it seriously. You see, every day, life gives you a choice: react or respond, explode or exhale. Let something consume you or let it pass through you. And the only thing that gives you the strength to choose wisely is your peace. When you operate from a place of peace, you're no longer controlled by chaos. You're centered, grounded, rooted in something deeper than emotions or ego. But here's the real deal. Most people walk around thinking peace is something they stumble into. They think it happens when everyone is nice to them, when no one cuts them off in traffic, when their boss speaks kindly, when their partner says the right words. That's not peace. That's convenience. Real peace doesn't show up when things are perfect. It shows up when things are broken and you still stay calm. You're going to meet people who will test you, people who will push your buttons on purpose. You're going to hear things that trigger old wounds. You'll face moments where your pride wants to speak louder than your purpose. But when you realize your peace is power, you'll start protecting it like it's sacred. Because it is. Every time you lose your peace, you lose access to clarity. And when you lose clarity, you lose control over your response. And when you lose control over your response, someone else is now steering your emotional ship. That's how you end up saying things you regret. That's how you end up replaying that conversation 1,000 times in your head. That's how you end up exhausted, not from the world, but from yourself. But choosing peace isn't weakness, it's strength under control. It's the ability to sit in the fire of someone's disrespect and not let it set your soul on fire. It's the ability to walk away without needing to be right. It's the ability to hear the insult, feel the sting, but not give them the satisfaction of watching you bleed. When you understand that your peace is your power, you stop letting people drain you with every petty jab and snide remark. You realize not everything deserves a response. Not every battle is worth the energy. You learn to ask yourself, is this worth my peace? And if the answer is no, you walk away with your head high and your soul still intact. Peace isn't passive, it's a choice you make moment by moment. You don't wait for peace to come knocking. You build it inside you so strong that no matter what comes your way, it can't shake you. You become unshakable, untouchable. Not because life stopped being hard, but because you stop handing over your power to things that don't deserve it. That's when the shift happens. That's when you move from being emotionally reactive to emotionally intelligent. That's when you start mastering yourself. Their actions reflect them, not you. That truth alone can free you from years of overthinking, overreacting, and taking things personally that were never about you in the first place. So many people are walking around with emotional scars that don't even belong to them, carrying the weight of someone else's brokenness and calling it their identity. When someone disrespects you, ignores you, talks down to you, or lashes out, it's easy to assume it's because you did something wrong, but most of the time it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with what they're carrying inside themselves. Hurt people hurt people. Insecure people try to make others feel small. Angry people explode on whoever's closest. And people who are at war with themselves can't help but start battles with others. Their behavior is a projection, not a judgment. But here's where it gets deep. When you don't understand this, you internalize everything. You start second guessing your worth, you replay conversations in your head, you wonder if you should have said something different, acted another way, stood up for yourself more or less. You mold yourself around the wounds they threw at you, and now you're living in reaction to someone else's broken lens. That's how people lose themselves, by mistaking someone's emotional immaturity as their personal failure. But the moment you step back and say, wait, that wasn't about me, you take your power back. You stop absorbing their toxicity. You stop blaming yourself for their bad day, their bad choices, their bad behavior. It doesn't mean you excuse it. It means you don't make it yours. There's a difference between recognizing someone's pain and owning it like it's your responsibility. You can acknowledge what someone's going through without letting it control how you feel about yourself. You don't have to drink the poison just because they poured it. When someone tries to diminish your light, it's because they're uncomfortable with their own darkness. With growth, When someone mocks your growth, it's because your evolution threatens their stagnation. When someone withdraws love or attention, it's often because they don't know how to give it freely. They've confused control with connection. You become unshakable when you realize that someone else's opinion of you is not your identity. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your peace, your joy, or your boundaries. The way they treat you speak volumes about where they are in their journey. Don't take it personally. Don't shrink to fit their dysfunction. Don't hand over your emotional thermostat and let them decide the temperature of your day. You are not a mirror for their pain. You are not their punching bag, their emotional outlet, or their validation source. Their actions are their own reflection, and your worth doesn't move just because someone else can't see it. The more you internalize that truth, the more bulletproof your self-worth becomes. Pause greater than react. That simple formula right there can change your relationships, your mindset, and your life. Because in the space between what happens to you and how you respond, there is power. Real, quiet, grounded power. And the people who learn to live in that space, who make it a habit to pause before they react, are the ones who start living with intention instead of impulse. Every time you instantly react out of anger, frustration, insecurity, or ego, you're letting your emotions run the show. And let's be real, emotions are important, but they're not always accurate. They're loud, but not always wise. That's why the pause matters. The pause is where your strength lives. It's the moment where you catch your breath before your emotions catch you. It's where you remember your values before you become a victim of your feelings. Think about the last time someone said something disrespectful to you. Maybe it hit a nerve. Maybe your pride flared up. Maybe your first instinct was to snap back, prove your point, raise your voice, or match their energy. But did that response help, or did it just add fuel to a fire that could have burned out if you had waited a few seconds? That pause doesn't make you weak. It makes you wise. It means you're no longer living in reaction mode, constantly pulled by everything and everyone around you. A lot of people confuse being reactive with being real. They think that if they don't respond instantly, they're being fake or letting someone walk all over them. But pausing doesn't mean you're fake. It means you're focused. It means you understand that not every reaction deserves your energy. It means you're playing chess while they're playing checkers. You're thinking long term, not just living in the heat of the moment. That pause can be the difference between saying something you regret and saying something that reflects your growth. It can be the difference between creating distance or building connection. Because words spoken in anger may be forgiven, but they're rarely forgotten. And actions taken in frustration usually leave scars on others and ourselves. When you train yourself to pause before reacting, you begin to take ownership of your inner world. You stop blaming others for how you feel, and you start recognizing that your emotional response is your responsibility. No one else gets to push your buttons unless you give them access. The pause is you saying, I'm in control of me. It's you stepping back, breathing deep, remembering who you are, and deciding who you want to be in that moment. That habit of pausing creates emotional discipline, and emotional discipline leads to emotional freedom. You become less reactive, more reflective, less explosive, more composed. You stop being triggered by every little thing because now you've built a gap between stimulus and response. And in that gap, you get to choose not just what to say, but who to be. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. That's a mindset shift that frees you from emotional exhaustion and unnecessary conflict, because not every invitation deserves a response and not every comment needs a comeback. The moment you realize that, you stop living in reaction to everyone else's chaos and start walking in your own calm. People will test you, some intentionally, others unconsciously. They'll try to drag you into their drama, bait you into their dysfunction, or pull you into petty debates just to feel powerful. But here's the truth. Your power isn't in proving a point, it's in protecting your peace. When someone throws shade your way, insults you, or challenges you with unnecessary negativity, it's easy to feel like you have to defend yourself, like you have to fight back, prove your worth, or correct their wrong perception of you. But that's just ego talking, and ego loves arguments because it thrives on being right. What your soul needs, though, is something different. It needs peace. And peace doesn't always come from winning. Sometimes it comes from walking away. Choosing not to engage doesn't mean you're weak or scared. It means you're wise enough to know that silence speaks louder than shouting. It means you've matured past the point of needing to validate yourself in every room you walk into. There's a certain strength in stillness, a quiet kind of confidence that says, I know who I am, so I don't need to fight to prove it. Because the loudest person in the room isn't always the strongest. The one who walks away with grace, with their dignity intact, with their mind unbothered, that's the real power move. Sometimes the most powerful response is no response. Not because you're ignoring the issue, but because you're choosing not to let someone's chaos disrupt your clarity. You can spend hours in back and forth arguments and still not change someone's mind. You can shout your truth until you're out of breath and they'll still believe what they want to believe. Some people don't want resolution, they want reaction. They don't want peace, they want attention. And every time you engage in their drama, you feed that cycle. You give them power over your emotional state. But the moment you say, not today, the moment you choose to stay grounded when they're trying to push your buttons, that's when you shift everything. It takes real emotional maturity to disengage, to hear the insult and not internalize it, to feel the pull of the argument and not respond to it, to stand in your truth quietly without needing to raise your voice. That's what self-mastery looks like. That's what emotional control feels like. You learn to value your energy so deeply that you no longer waste it on people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You realize your peace is more valuable than your pride, and your time is too precious to be spent on meaningless battles. So the next time someone tries to pull you into their storm, remember, you don't have to attend. You can decline that invitation and keep your peace intact. You can't control how others act, but you can always control how you respond. That truth can be both sobering and empowering, because when life feels chaotic, people feel difficult and situations feel unfair, it's tempting to believe that peace only comes when others start behaving better. But the reality is, if your peace depends on other people's choices, you will always be at their mercy. You'll always be emotionally tossed around by someone else's mood, energy, or opinion. That's no way to live. Emotional freedom begins the moment you take full ownership of your response, regardless of someone else's behavior. It's easy to feel justified when someone disrespects you, easy to match their energy, to react impulsively, to let their chaos become your chaos. But the problem with that is, now you've given them control over your internal state. You've handed over your emotional power just because they didn't know how to handle theirs. The truth is, people will disappoint you, they'll say things they shouldn't, they'll act from their own wounds, their own stress, their own ignorance. You cannot predict or prevent all of it. But what you can do every single time is decide how you're going to show up in the face of it. That decision belongs to you, no one else. When someone offends you, you can choose to carry it or release it. When someone tries to argue with you, you can choose to engage or stay grounded. When someone brings negativity into your space, you can choose whether to absorb it or reject it. These are not reactions, they are choices. And the more intentional you become with your choices, the more peace you protect in your life. The more you remind yourself that you don't need to mirror someone's energy to feel strong. Real strength is in restraint, it's in calm clarity, it's in choosing growth over reaction. Control isn't about dominating situations or people, it's about mastering yourself in the middle of them. It's about refusing to let someone's storm shake your foundation. And that self-control isn't natural, it's built. It's a practice. It comes from pausing, from breathing, from stepping back and reminding yourself of what you truly value. Do you want to be right, or do you want to protect your peace? Every situation gives you that choice. When you start living like this, when your response becomes a reflection of your values instead of a reaction to someone's energy, you shift from being emotionally reactive to emotionally responsible. And that shift changes everything. It builds confidence, it strengthens character, it creates a life that's not ruled by external chaos, but led by internal calm. You become the kind of person who doesn't need the world to be perfect to stay grounded, because the storm might rage around you, but it doesn't have to rage within you. In a world that constantly tests your patience, your peace, and your purpose, remember this: you are not powerless. You have more control than you think, not over others, but over yourself. The way people treat you will not always be fair. The words they speak may sting, their actions may confuse you, but none of that has to shake who you are, because your peace is your power. Their behavior reflects them, not you. The pause before you react is your strength. You don't have to show up to every argument. And most of all, you always have the power to choose your response. That's emotional maturity, that's self-mastery, and that's how you become unshakable in a world full of storms. Thank you for showing up for yourself today. Thank you for listening, for reflecting, and for choosing growth over chaos. You've got what it takes to protect your peace, hold your power, and rise above the noise. Keep walking in wisdom, keep choosing calm, and always remember, you were built for more than just reacting. You were built to rise. Good luck on your journey, and may peace follow you everywhere you go.